This was a bucket list moment. I got to fly one of the world's most talked about first class cabins on its very first day of service, the brand new Air France La Première. I've flown the old La Première not once, not twice, but 4 times, so this review comes with a perspective, not just first time excitement. So how did this all start? Back on March 18th, Air France hosted a media event in Paris where their CEO Ben Smith officially unveiled the new La Première cabin, AF001 from JFK to Paris and AF004 from Paris to JFK. Both were showing the new seat maps starting April 8. I was hoping to fly this cabin sometime within the first month, but I got lucky. I didn't just get a seat, I managed to snag one on day 1 and even booked it using miles. The actual very first flight with the new cabin, which was AF004, was between Paris and New York, but it wasn't even open for booking. That one was pretty much a VIP flight with the CEO Ben Smith and a few bloggers and media folks he personally invited. Technically, my flight AF001 was the first commercial flight where a regular passenger could actually buy a ticket, and that person just happened to be me. For an everyday traveler like me, it felt like a pretty cool accomplishment. Air France runs about 4 to 5 flights a day out of JFK, and 3 of them feature the La Première cabin. It wasn't a surprise that they had a dedicated welcome area with a partition clearly marked for La Première guests. The agent that checked me in looked over me with a little smile and said, "Do you know today's a special flight?" I smiled back, trying to play it cool, but in my head I was thinking, "Oh, you have no idea how long I've been waiting for this." She walked me over to the Air France lounge where there's a small section upstairs set aside just for La Première passengers. That's where I met Sue, the lounge attendant. She was incredibly kind and made me feel right at home. The lounge itself was cozy, just a handful of sofas and about 4 nicely set dining tables, all facing these huge windows. Right as I got there, the aircraft from Paris had just pulled in, and there it was, F-GZNQ. I started things off with a glass of La Homme Perrier Grand Sequel and spent the next hour just watching planes take off. From that part of the lounge, you get a perfect view of the runway as the wide bodies rotate and lift off. For food, I had deviled eggs with caviar, salmon blinis, and even more caviar, and a New York steak. The meal itself was fine, not quite what you would expect for something carrying La Première name. But honestly, I was just happy to be there, soaking in every minute. Then it was time to board. My escort came to get me and we headed over to the aircraft. And then came the moment I'd been waiting for, my very first look at the new Air France La Première cabin. The very first thing that hit me when I stepped into the new La Première cabin was just how spacious it felt. Without the overhead bins, the whole space opened up. The ceiling felt higher and the cabin felt wider. Each suite is laid out with 2 seats, the main lounge chair and a chaise-style seat by the window. The lounge chair is wide, plush and fully adjustable, exactly what you would expect. But honestly, it was the chaise that stood out for me. You could sit however you wanted, cross-legged, stretched out, curled up, and it always felt very natural and comfortable. It's hard to fully describe, but this chaise brings a level of comfort and flexibility that you don't get with a single standard seat design. The whole chair plus chaise setup gives you options, and for me, it's easily more comfortable than the old version. Right away, I also noticed the signature red La Première shawl placed on each seat. That little splash of color gives the cabin the unmistakable Air France vibe. The lighting was another standout. It was soft, warm, and elegant. The accent lights along the walls gave the space a cozy, upscale glow. If I had to explain to someone what chic looks like, I'd point them straight to this cabin. The luggage compartments were huge, easily big enough for 2 full-sized carry-ons. I know a few bloggers left the March 18th media event saying not much had changed. But I have to respectfully disagree. Seeing it inside a fully fitted aircraft with the full cabin setup gives you a completely different feel than what you would see in a showroom. Everything just comes alive on board in a way that a staged preview can't replicate. And while some people wished they had gone with hard doors, I still think keeping the curtains was the right call. Sure, doors would have added a bit more privacy, but they also would have taken away from that soft, elegant vibe that's so uniquely Air France. The curtains keep the suite feeling open and inviting. This is an Emirates-style bling with golden mirrors, but this is elegant, understated, chic luxury. Air France didn't try to reinvent the wheel, and that's exactly why it works. They stayed true to their identity, refined what they already had, and delivered a more polished, elevated version of La Première that still feels unmistakably Air France. The crew seemed just as excited as I was. They took the time to walk me through the new cabin and really made me feel welcomed and special. They even left a handwritten note at my seat. It was such a nice touch. A little later, the flight attendant came by and asked what size pajamas I wanted. Air France's old La Première pajamas always ran a bit small, but these new Jacquemus ones, they were huge. The men's set came out in a blue bag and the women's in red. Funny enough, when I told my friends at work I was flying La Première again, they were more excited about the Jacquemus PJs than the actual flight. Soon after takeoff, the partition between the middle seats was raised. The suite controls were all managed through a tablet. Seat position, chaise, window shades, lighting, and even the entertainment system. You could choose which screen you want to watch on, and the tablet had 2 docking stations, making it easy to move around, whether you were in the chair or lounging on the chaise. Super convenient. At first, I thought the main screen looked a bit far and could have been slightly larger. But once I settled in, it actually felt fine. The only time I wished for a bigger screen was when I was laying flat and using the secondary monitor above my chair. That one could use a little boost in size for a better viewing angle. If I had one minor complaint, it would be the tablet itself. The touchscreen wasn't always super responsive. Sometimes I had to tap multiple times or press a little harder to get it to work, but hopefully something they would fine-tune over time. As far as the headphones are concerned, La Première provides Denon headsets, which were pretty solid. But the real win was being able to connect my AirPods directly to the system via Bluetooth. This is a game changer. The noise cancellation was better, and I didn't have to deal with the usual discomfort of wearing big over-ear headphones for hours. I also left the wireless charging pads and USB-C ports on both sides. Before takeoff, the flight attendant asked when I'd like to have my meal. I told her I'd be ready in about 15 minutes after we were airborne. I had this all planned out ahead of time, keeping a few things in mind. First, while the scheduled block time was 7.5 hours, the pilot announced we had favorable winds and would be landing in just 6. Second, I wanted to fit everything in: dinner service, a quick nap to try out the bed, and breakfast before landing. And third, I wanted to get some nice shots of the food while there was still good natural light outside. But then, 15 minutes passed by, then 30, and then an hour. I could literally smell the food being served to others, but nothing showed up at my seat. About 90 minutes after takeoff, with the sun starting to set and my window for decent lighting fading, I finally pressed the call button and let them know I was ready for dinner. The FA responded kindly, saying she was just finishing service for another passenger and making his final espresso, and that should be done, and she should be with me shortly. She was polite, but in a cabin like this, it kind of felt a bit odd. 15 minutes later, she came over to set my table, and all I could think was, why Air France, why? That moment took me right back to my very first La Première flight 2 years ago, which was a total disaster in terms of service. The menu itself hadn't really changed, aside from the addition of a few new cocktails with varying alcohol levels. I gave them a try and they were excellent. I'll roll some clips here so you can get a feel for what to expect. Finally, as we got ready for landing, I tried to bring my seat back to the upright position using the tablet. The screen showed the animation of the seat moving, but nothing actually happened in reality. It was completely unresponsive. The crew jumped in to help, but even they couldn't get it to work. Turns out the tablet had lost connection with the seat controls. After about 10 minutes of troubleshooting, they had me stand up, flipped the seat over, and manually reset it using the levers underneath. I get it, it's a brand new product, and a few glitches are to be expected early on. Hopefully, they'll sort these out little bugs before it gets rolled out to more routes. My final verdict. The new Air France La Première is a big step forward. It's elegant, refined, and very much French in all the right ways. The chair and chaise combo adds a level of comfort and flexibility that most first-class products just don't offer. But overall, the experience feels thoughtfully designed and genuinely luxurious. Thanks for watching.
Madame, Monsieur, bienvenue à Paris, aéroport Roissy-Charles de Gaulle. Il est 5h15 en heure locale. Votre salle d'arrivée est située au terminal 2E, hall L. Vous pouvez dès à présent désactiver le mode avion. Votre ceinture de sécurité doit rester attachée jusqu'à l'extinction de la consigne. Nous vous prions d'être attentifs aux éventuelles chutes d'objets lors de l'ouverture des coffres à bagages. Nous vous remercions d'avoir voyagé avec Air France. Air France et ses partenaires SkyTeam vous souhaitent une agréable journée et un excellent voyage si vous êtes en correspondance. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. It is 5:15 a.m. local time. Arrival is located in Terminal 2E, Hall L. You may now deactivate flight mode. Please keep your seat then fasten the illuminated sign has been switched off, and be careful when opening the other compartments as items may fall out. We thank you for flying with Air France, Air France and its partners. Wish you a very pleasant day and an excellent onward journey if you are connecting to another flight. Madame, Monsieur, pour votre confort, nous remercions les passagers qui requièrent une assistance à l'arrivée de bien vouloir attendre pour débarquer afin de faciliter la prise en charge au sol par le prestataire dédié. Merci.